This is the Orioles Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute since we had a good therapy session, right? Like a real venting session where we can all just get our grievances out in the open. This Sunday, today, I challenge you to do just that. Final score in this series finale rubber game between the Baltimore Orioles and New York Yankees, New York 4 and Baltimore 2. This is the Baltimore Orioles postcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Luke Slaybaugh. As always, we stream these live on YouTube. I am your post-game show host for the rest of the season. The O's came in today with a chance to stick it to the Yankees, to make it 2 series wins against the Bronx Bombers in 2 series so far this season. They will not meet until the end of the regular season. And this one slipped away in a very heartbreaking and frustrating way. The O's fall to 11 games under 500 and 12 back of the Yankees in the American League East in last place firmly, and 6.5 back of the Boston Red Sox, their game pending here on this Sunday afternoon. First, what a unique opportunity. 11:35 Eastern time first pitch. Dean Kramer on the mound, doing a spectacular job in terms of limiting the damage from the Bronx Bombers. And you got a familiar face in the broadcast booth with Buck Showalter calling the game alongside Matt Vasgersian and Jeff Nelson, and familiar face Rob Long from WBAL radio and all that. Not WBAL, my mistake, but doing mass and broadcasts as well. Rob's great. Unfortunately, what has been plaguing the Orioles lately is that they just don't have enough arms, either on the IL or ineffective or just overworked and gassed. It has been mounting and stockpiling. It's much like burnout. You have to control it for an extended period of time, and the Orioles haven't strung together enough good pitching performances on the front end to give any relief to their relievers. And so the bullpen is gassed, and we saw that come to life in the 8th inning against the New York Yankees.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Subtle to see, but there's not a lot of swing and miss lately out of the arms that you would expect to have swing and miss. Bryan Baker, Keegan Aiken, to a lesser extent, Felix Bautista. And this has gotten so bad to the point where just in order to have a fresh arm in the bullpen today, the O's optioned down Yennier Cano to Norfolk and brought up Yarmil Geraldo just so that they could have a warm body that could have his best stuff. But you're not seeing it. And between Aiken, Dominguez, and Baker, they only managed 1 strikeout. Now, granted, that came in a really big spot when the Yankees in the bottom of the 7th had runners on first and third, 2 outs, and Aaron Judge up at the plate. Dominguez, maybe the emotions getting to him, but able to get a called strike on a sinker at 99 against Judge, but then took something off the splitter at 88, and Judge just swung right through it to end the inning. And for a brief moment there, you thought the O's might have been out of the woods, and a hat tip to Sir Anthony Dominguez for making that possible. Unfortunately, Bryan Baker comes in need of some extended days off, which he likely won't get until July. And fresh inning in the 8th, it does not go according to plan.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
And this is not a knock on Bryan Baker at all. He's been reliable all season. Just facts are facts. That's what it is. Gives up a leadoff single to Ben Rice, a ground out to Ryan O'Hearn. Doesn't have a play at second base. Cody Bellinger grounds out to Rhino. 1 out, Stanton singles to left. Rice moves pretty well, goes first to third. And at that point, the Yankees make a subtle move. They put in Paul Goldschmidt, the veteran, to pinch run for Stanton. Runs well. I wouldn't say runs fast, but they got runners at the corners with 1 out, and the conversation turns to, how do you pitch Jazz Chisholm? Looks like Baker was pitching around him, falls behind 3-0, and then just lobs a get-over fastball out over the plate at 96. Chisholm hits it off the wall. Rice scores easily. It's a tied game now, 2-2. Goldschmidt chugging around third, and the relay from Mullins to Gunnar Henderson is good. Gunnar's throw to the plate is a bit off to the first base side, but it's timed well. Like Gunnar exchanged pretty well and throws well. It's just offline. So it's up to Gary Sanchez to try to go in and get Goldschmidt's foot, and he does not succeed. Goldschmidt scores, and it's 3-2. So 1-run game. The O's have fared pretty well. 10-8 in 1-run game. So perhaps if they can stop the bleeding here, maybe they have a fighting chance in the ninth, right? Well, then DJ LeMahieu's up next. Infield is pulled in, taps a ground ball to Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar, again, exchanges good, gets to Gary Sanchez on time, and Gary can't corral it. Can't hold on to the throw. It's a 4-2 ball game. And that's when interim manager Tony Mansolino has seen enough, puts in Gregory Soto to fan Austin Wells and end that inning and stop the bleeding. But a 3-run eighth inning by the Yankees dooms the Baltimore Orioles here on this Sunday afternoon. And the worst part about all this is that it ruins a fine outing from right-hander Dean Kramer, who stifled the Yankees to the best of his ability through 5 2/3. How efficient he was out the gate is going to be lost in the narrative of this game. A 10-pitch first inning, gets a shutdown inning after the lead, and he's able to stop the bleeding effectively in the second. Gives up a run. That collision play between Chisholm and Maverick Hanley that we'll talk about in the next block. But that's an RBI single from DJ LeMahieu. And with that extended injury delay in which Hanley is removed in favor of Gary Sanchez, he then throws a serious splitter with some drop to Austin Wells to get him to strike out and end the inning immediately after that RBI single. That is not the Dean Kramer that we would have seen in April and even parts of May. So he was great. Effectively using the split and the sinker as a strikeout pitch, and getting Giancarlo Stanton 3 times on 3 different pitches, including the first time on a cutter. So no grievances at all, and Dean Kramer's final line is going to be lost in the narrative of this game. 5 2/3, 7 strikeouts, just 1 walk towards the end there, and 5 hits allowed, 1 earned run. The ERA standing at 4.60 for Dino. Coming up, Maverick Hanley is hurt just a day after getting called up to effectively replace Adley Rutschman, who goes on the IL for the first time in his career, gets his bell rung. And we mentioned the airing of grievances here. The O's are starting to regress in a very avoidable way at the plate. And it's starting to look like shades of earlier this season, where when they make contact, it's great. But when they don't, there's a glaring issue. And we will talk about that before looking ahead to the Rangers series. This is the Locked On Orioles postcast. Thanks so much for joining me. My name is Luke Slabaugh. We'll be back right after this. Maybe if Bryan Baker had the wonderful pistachios, this doesn't happen. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. They're packed with better for you unsaturated fats. Still don't know what that means. Certainly a big no shells variety guy, and they come with all different flavors too. You'll see them advertised on billboards and metro columns down in DC. They're really popular. Get snackin, get crackin. It's a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you to Wonderful Pistachios for sponsoring this show and all the shows. They're doing great. Hey, NBA Finals as well, just around the corner. And that's the good thing about an 11:35 first pitch, right? Is that if you do have interest in the NBA, take a nice nap, you take the kids out for ice cream, do something on this Sunday and flush this loss. Get prepared for the Sunday scaries to come. And FanDuel says it's better than ever, a time to get in on the action in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. First time since LeBron and Cleveland stuck it to the Warriors. With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach or while you're getting a sunburn. Player props, anything. This is huge. Whether you're placing a same game parlay or watching a bet ride into late in the fourth quarter or late into a ninth inning of a baseball game, who had the Orioles money line on this game? Who's to say? New customers can bet just $5 and get 150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit fanduel.com/locked on to get started. All right. Maverick Hanley got hurt. The O's catching situation just keeps getting a wrinkle thrown in it, right? For about a month, Gary Sanchez is missing, and now Handley gets hurt on a truly baseball play. We go bottom two. There's two outs, runners on base against Dean Kramer. And Jazz Chisholm at the plate hits a double to right field. DJ LeMahieu hits a single to left field. And so Chisholm, that runner on second base, is coming around. The relay throw brings Maverick Handley into the third base line heading towards home. Colton Cowser's throw from left, Chisholm, the base runner, going from second to home. And so the throw pulls Handley in, and there is this well photographed cinematic collision where Hanley's reaching out, Chisholm kind of caught in no man's land. It has a clear line to home plate. He's got to have a beat on the plate. So he's doing nothing wrong by running through this, but he makes contact with Hanley's arm. There's a little bit of contact to the head from Hanley. He spins in midair. Chisholm loses his shoe in the process. One of his cleats goes flying, and he is able to score to make it a 2-1 ball game. The Orioles still up by 1 run. Hanley, on replay, you could see did get his bell rung a little bit, getting contact to the temple there. And so Tony Mansolino and the trainers come out and they start looking at Hanley and they think, no, we're not going to risk this. No matter how well a game Hanley calls, you can't risk any potential concussion symptoms it appears. So Gary Sanchez comes in, and we already talked about how well he did. So Hanley, no word yet on what it is. Hopefully there is no concussion or brain symptoms, injury symptoms to be seen. I would add an afterthought to this, and this is not a knock and it's not a criticism because this is a bang bang baseball play. No one is in the wrong here whatsoever. Chisholm's got to have a line to the plate, and Hanley, truthfully, is able to stand his ground in the baseline so long as he's making a play and trying to catch a throw from the outfield, which he is. My one afterthought to this, and again, this is not a knock, is that you can stand firmly in the baseline. You can stand your ground and make sure you have your bearings to catch that ball cleanly. It is not obstruction if you do that. I know a lot of people, there's a lot made since the Buster Posey rule and the collisions at the plate and all this. And this is a wild extension of that. A lot of people being focused on, oh, did they block the bag or did they block the plate on throws trying to get a base runner out? So long as you are making an attempt in good faith to catch the ball, you can hold your ground. And it seemed at that point that Hanley was still being drawn into the line. And if he had had a step or maybe a half step ahead on that throw and he had his feet planted, maybe Chisholm's out if he's able to catch that throw cleanly. Again, he packs a lot of punch, Chisholm does. He's a well-built player. All I am saying is that you can make that play. If Gary Sanchez is pulled into that, maybe Chisholm's taking a route around. And no, the answer is not Samuel Basallo. You need someone with reps behind the plate in the big leagues to catch this staff because, as we've mentioned, it is gassed and it is underperforming. And gassed, past participle, ed, gassed. So the O's bats flailed in big situations. They score 2 runs in the first inning, which is great. Stick it to right-hander Will Warren right out the gate. Get him on his heels. Have him on the ropes. It's exactly storybook what you want to start this game. Got Dean Kramer some run support, and he pitched well with it. The 8th inning is going to loom large when the O's go back and assess this because Gunnar Henderson and Ryan O'Hearn walked back to back to start the 8th against left-hander Tim Hill. That has to turn into a run. That has to. And we've seen anecdotal examples of this in the last couple series. Well, they'll get the bases loaded, or they'll get multiple runners on with one outs or less and not be able to move them over. They said on the broadcast for Roku that Laureano had only one sack bunt in his career up to this point successfully. And given his bunting form, that is not hard to uh, understand. But at that point, your job is to manufacture a run and extend the inning. And granted, this right-handed reliever who came in, Fernando Cruz, has a heck of a splitter and did a great job with the split finger fastball. But I would posit at that point, maybe get someone in there who has a better track record for contact, or someone who can effectively lay down a bunt. I mean, you've got Luis Vasquez, who at this point is probably the best reliever that the O's has. Shortstop by trade, threw a scoreless inning yesterday. Uh, why not Kobe Mayo? And we know that Jordan Westberg is down with the case of my hand hurts, but that's, you have options in that situation. It's unrealistic to expect Laureano, who had a pretty bad day at the plate, to have this clutch hit, given the stuff that's playing from a right-handed reliever. And even if you don't bunt, maybe put in someone else there. I don't know if that was the right move. So Laureano goes down via the splitter, and so do Colton Cowser and Cedric Mullins. Mullins on 3 pitches. This episode is going long because if we're ranting, we got to cover all the bases here. There is no reason that right-hander Will Warren should have been allowed to settle in and go 6 1/3 after the 2-run inning that the O's put up in the first. The scouting report was that the O's were going to see a steady diet of forcing fastballs from Warren, particularly early in the count. And I don't know how that turned into we should swing at the first pitch all the time or more than average. In fact, 14 of the 38 plate appearances that the Orioles had today involved a swing at the first pitch. And a couple of those for first pitch outs. I believe 2 was the mark 6 or 7 innings into the game. But that also brings up another good point. After 2 runs and 19 pitches against Will Warren in the first inning, you're telling me for the rest of the game that the Yankees only pitched to roughly 10 batters over the minimum? After sticking it to Warren there, you have him on the ropes. You have him throw 19 pitches, and only that thanks to a 7-pitch at-bat by Mullins with 2 outs. What has been lost in translation here? Ramon Urias, 3 plate appearances to start his Sunday. He sees a total of 4 pitches. Granted, the first one is a first pitch hit by pitch in the first inning, which helped kickstart that rally. But how many players would you give leeway to make 2 outs on 3 pitches? When is that justified? Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, beginning and end of list. I don't care about Gunnar Henderson. He's about to turn 24. There is still big league reps to be had and leadership skills to gain and more acumen and awareness at the plate. Speaking of Gunnar, he showed some good acumen and feel for the game in the top of the 5th. Warren's still pitching. And again, just for him to pitch longer into this game than Dean Kramer, who pitched well, is silly. Holiday makes an out on the first pitch. Ramon Urias makes an out on 2 pitches. And so the onus is on Gunnar Henderson to extend this inning past 4 pitches for Will Warren. The onus is on him to have a decent at-bat, to see at least 3 pitches. You never want to force this on your star player or your slugger. And thank goodness he walks on 8 pitches after fouling off several balls. Man, that's just, when the team was playing its best, certainly it pounced on first pitch strikes that were their pitch. And we've seen it. We saw it a couple times today out of Ryan O'Hearn. And this is not a results-oriented ex post facto, oh, yes, of course they should swing at the first pitch. Like, he's great at that. You can learn more from taking a first pitch strike that isn't yours, that you can own, rather than swinging and perhaps making a dumb out. We've seen Ryan O'Hearn make some good decisions with a first pitch swing. And there have been other times, I believe in that Cardinals series, where he did make the final out on the first pitch with runners on base. And situationally, it was like brain fart. What are we doing? And I think the encapsulation of this, and again, this is not a knock, but it is an observation of his development, is Jackson Holliday. We like Jackson Holliday on the show. 21 years old, first full season in Major League Baseball, and there is growth to be had. The month of May launched a proto all-star campaign, 5 home runs, slugging .500, hitting .287, and being placed full-time into the leadoff spot. What is a leadoff hitter's job? To get on base. Hopefully to see a lot of pitches in that process. And I would even just put this down on a base level. We've talked about this before on the show. What is an offense's job? You would say to score runs. Yes, that is the final line on that. But how do you do that in Major League Baseball? What is the avenue in which to score runs most reliably? Extend the inning. Ideally, that 19 pitch, even 15, 16, 17 plus pitches, that type of frame, you replicate that and you are able to bounce the starting pitcher 4 or 5 innings into the game. And then dip into their bullpen, get them a little bit gassed, have them on their heels, and manufacture better matchups and better scoring opportunities in these late game situations. And you could have done that to the Yankees today. Back to Jackson Holliday, 287 batting average in the month of May. In June, this is either growing pains or a lack of plate discipline, because with it is coming a decline. Before that 9th inning single from Holliday, he was averaging around 225 this month. And he's got an ample sample size, around 80 at-bats so far this month. That might be a tick higher now. Slugging roughly 315, 320, and a 40-point drop in on-base percentage from month to month. Stats not yet finalized here in the final book, but that is roughly the decline we have seen. We've also seen this being spun in a good way, that Holliday is being aggressive on the first pitch. And anecdotally, we have seen the leadoff double on a first pitch and a way to set the table. And in a microcosm, yes. In a silo for an inning, sure. How that's become habit is disturbing. Because glorifying a 21-year-old swinging at the first pitch, context be darned, is a first-class ticket to getting the next Nafi Perez at the plate. You remember who Nafi Perez was? Or like a Ronnie Cedeno? Or, gosh, I don't know, a Luis Ordaz? Like someone who loses the ability to work a good count and get on base at a respectable clip. You trust a Ryan O'Hearn, who's a veteran and a hot hand, but the situation is kind of like a green light on 3-0. That's earned and it's not assumed. The good news on this part, when you are this aggressive in the count, is they only struck out 6 times through the first 7 innings compared to 4 walks. But then when the Yankees and Aaron Boone start playing puppet strings and managing their bullpen effectively against Tony Mansolino, it's a masterclass, and Manso just gets worked. Rant over. Home series tomorrow, starting against the Rangers. The last 3 in a stretch of 16 consecutive games. Left-hander Trevor Rogers. We have seen Jekyll and Hyde this season, most recently Hyde. Pun intended. Sorry for the former manager. Rogers went 2 1/3 against Tampa. Could not protect an 8-0 lead in that accursed 12-8 loss down at Steinbrenner Field, Mickey Mouse Park. 3 earned runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, and 4 Ks for Trevor. Velocity's been playing, but the command was not. And One would assume that was in between the ears. His counterpart is left-hander Patrick Corbin. Very familiar to O's fans and people in the DMV. He was persona non grata the last 4 or so years in Washington with that huge contract, led the league in losses for a 3-year stretch, and he has been cast away to the Rangers. He's on a 1-year prove-it deal, about $1.1 million for the 12-year veteran. Pitching better this year as a mid to bottom rotation guy, a 3.91 ERA, 4 wins, and 6 losses. The O's should not have lost this game. And sometimes you just got to take a step back and given all the aggregate information and the way that these teams were managed and the way that the talent has risen or sunk in these high pressure moments, we're going to say something that unfortunately is the truth. The Yankees were the better team. Final score, New York 4, Baltimore 2. Good night. Stay safe. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night.